This mysterious story happened about 7 years ago, and that's how it was.
Eric and Paris's family had been out of order for a long time. The last year and a half, for sure. And if someone from their family and friends had been told 2 years ago that this ideal couple would live like a cat and a dog, they would only have laughed in response. And indeed, for the first 7 years of married life, Eric and Paris's relationship seemed just perfect from the outside. The woman constantly bragged to her friends and work colleagues about numerous gifts and photos of luxurious bouquets of roses, which her husband regularly pampered. Eric had no bad habits, held a highly paid position in a large company, and was crazy about his wife, who also loved him very much. If a couple walked down the street, it was only holding hands and looking at each other with loving eyes. Everything changed literally within a month. It all started with unsuccessful attempts to have a child. Paris went to doctors for a long time, one of whom said that physiologically, a woman would never be able to become a mother. After this news, Eric began to drink alcohol often and a lot, which led to the first deprivation of his driver's license, and then dismissal from work. Going to court to get a divorce was already almost a done deal. And today, for the time being, the couple were preparing for the visit of Eric's great-aunt, who came from a distant Siberian village to visit relatives. Eric sent Ali's taxi driver and neighbor to the train station about 3 hours ago, handing him $50 and promising to give him the same amount in a week. Ali called. "They're coming." Eric entered the kitchen and looked at his wife, slicing vegetables for a salad. "Paris, I beg you, let's at least live without scandals while Aunt Olga is with us. Be patient for a couple of days and then go straight to court. I've already made an agreement with Steve. I'll rent a room with him, and then we'll see." "You say that as if I provoke scandals in our family." Paris quickly poured the chopped vegetables into the salad bowl and looked reproachfully at her husband. "You yourself, as soon as you get drunk, everything is wrong for you. So don't drink while your aunt is here." "Yes, how is it? Don't drink." Eric grimaced. "A relative has arrived. Why don't I drink a glass or two? It's a tradition after all." "Well, it's starting again. Go meet the guest. She's already arrived." "And why are you sitting so sour?" Aunt Olga looked around at the spouses sitting at the table. "Or aren't you glad to see me? Maybe I'm not on time." "Yes, no, Aunt Olga. Of course we are glad." Eric began, but his wife interrupted him. "Yes, he wants a drink, so he's sour." "Paris, what nonsense are you talking about?" Eric raised his eyes to the ceiling. "I don't want anything. Let's not do this now. Why won't we? Tell your aunt what your drinking has brought you to." Aunt Olga's face, which had been smiling and sparkling with positivity before, suddenly became very serious. "So, come on, tell me what's going on here," she said, pushing her plate away. "I see nothing good." After listening attentively to the detailed story of the constantly interrupting spouses, Aunt Olga shook her head. "It's not without human envy here," she said firmly. "Come on, Eric. Take a tool and tear off the trim on the front door." "Why?" The nephew shrugged his shoulders. "Do as I say." Eric went to the pantry and brought out a large screwdriver. With her help, he dismantled the trim strips. "What's next?" Aunt Olga went to the door and began to examine it carefully. "There is," she suddenly exclaimed, and with a quick movement of her hand pulled out some small object from the end of the door frame. "That's the lining." Eric and Paris bent over the object that the woman was holding in her hand. It was a rusty pin with a broken head. "What is it?" Paris asked, her eyes wide. "Someone wished you harm," Aunt Olga said calmly, examining the pin. "It's a witch's lining. Remember, among friends and acquaintances, was there anyone with witch abilities?" "Yes, it seems like no one." "Well, then we'll find out for ourselves who it was. At the same time, we will punish the villain. But you just need to prepare." At midnight, Aunt Olga, accompanied by her nephew, went to the nearest forest belt. When she reached the outskirts, she turned around. "Wait for me here," she said to Eric. "You don't need to see what I'm going to do." With that, she disappeared into the trees. Aunt Olga returned about an hour later. "That's it, it's done," she said, and looked at her nephew carefully. "Now we'll wait." During the day, the one who caused the damage to you will look for opportunities to ask you for forgiveness, not for anything in particular, but just for forgiveness. And God forbid that you forgive this man. All my work will be in vain, or it will get worse. Remember that and tell Paris. In the morning, Paris said that her friend Elsa, whom she had not seen for 2 years, came to her in a dream and began to ask her for forgiveness. She was almost on her knees begging. "Let's see what happens next," Aunt Olga chuckled. Towards noon, Paris received a text message from Elsa. "Hi, we haven't seen each other for a long time. We haven't talked. Maybe you're mad at me for something? So I'm sorry if something's wrong." "Well, the witch has appeared," said Aunt Olga after seeing the SMS. "Now we are waiting until tomorrow. Don't answer her. If you can stand it, everything she said to you will come back to her." Paris's phone rang all day with Elsa's calls, and she called Eric a couple of times, but on the orders of the aunt, the couple did not answer the phone. The next morning, the three of them were having tea in the kitchen. "Olga, what is going on anyway?" Paris asked, putting a box of chocolates on the table, hidden for a special occasion. "How did you find out about witchcraft?" "Yes, that's how I found out." The woman smiled. "I'm a hereditary witch myself. I know all these ways, but a real witch should help, not harm people. And people like Elsa should be punished so that they know another time that everything can come back to them 100-fold. She envied your happiness and performed the ceremony. But now everything will be fine with you. I'll make sure of it." Olga was right. Less than a month later, Eric received a call from his former boss, TRSTI, and asked him to return to work. Eric gave up all his bad habits and got to his mind. The couple stopped quarreling, and their former prosperity returned to their home. And 6 months after the memorable visit of Olga's aunt, Paris literally stunned her happy husband with the news of her pregnancy.
And no one has ever heard of Elsa again.